Verse 52. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون. So this verse 52, is giving us insight into the regret those who reject Allah Ta'ala, His promise to revive us after we've passed on, to reject that idea of a life to come and being held to account, the regret that one will experience there. And the example given here again is of the mushrikeen, that they are being addressed here in Mecca. They are being told by the Prophet ﷺ that you people are going to say this when the time comes. قالوا يا ويلنا, woe to us, regret has come to us. من بعثنا, من بعثنا. Man is a question, a particle of istifham, where you're seeking to know who or what. Who has done this? بعثنا. The word ba'atha is to revive and resurrect. And that's a whole subject that we study and define the term ba'ath in theology. Basically it means resurrection. Ba'athana, the noon here is a noon of plurality. It means all of us. Who has raised us up here? Min marqadina. Min means from, it's a particle, it's a harf jar, it's a preposition. From what? And it means from. Marqadina. Marqad means resting place, like a bed, place where you lie down. The noon again is a plural for us. So the images here are stunning here, and it's very terse, this verse. It's very short. It's a few words. We can count the words, about 7 words in this verse. But it's giving us a picture of these people who reject their life to come. And rejecting the life to come was one of the suds in front of them. Min bayna aydihim sadda. In front of them is a sad, a barrier. So they rejected that there's a life to come. And the regret they're going to experience is mentioned here. Man ba'athana, who has woken us up, in other words. Min marqadina, from our resting place. So the idea here is that they, like you are awoken from sleep, we will be, so to say, woken up from that death. The places where they are lying, and that happens to all of us. So it's the picture here is a beautiful picture, a bit of a scary picture, but a reality that we will be revived again. And this idea of being revived is mentioned throughout the Quran, where Nabi Musa is given a stick which seems dead but was once part of a living organism, a tree, and it bore fruit, it gave shade. And this tree stump which seems dead becomes his staff, and with it he paves the way, he knocks down fruit, he sees to crops, he uses it as a means of defense, and he gives life to that which was dead. So be aware of this throughout the Quran, that this idea of revival is always there, and it is a reminder for us to revive our hearts before they die, and so that the hearts is raised from a qalbun mayyit, a dead heart, to a qalbun salim, a sound heart. So this verse is telling us that we undergo a slumber or a sleep, which after the first trumpet blow, but that sleep, another trumpet is blown where creation comes back to life again. And we call this the 2 blows which the angel Israfil will blow. And when they ask the question, who raised us up from the sleep that we were experiencing? Who has done this? The answer then is, هَذَا مَا وَعَدَ الرَّحْمَنِ. This is the wa'ad. Wa'ad means promise. وَعَدَ الرَّحْمَنِ, the promise of an all-merciful Lord. And you see the regret seeping in more here, because they are still being reminded of Rahmah. And this is the beauty of this Quran, that wherever you look, whether it's death or resurrection, you are being reminded of Rahmah. And therefore it is Stunning and shocking how we can focus so much on wrath and anger and punishment when Allah is focusing almost on every page in the Quran on rahmah. I mean, that's how the Quran opens, Rahmanur Rahim. The Prophet is Rahmatan lil Alameen. Everywhere it's about mercy. And we still tend to focus more on Jahannam than on heaven. But this verse now, the response here, this is the promise of Ar-Rahman, the one who is intense, who is using the intense form of mercy, Rahmah. Of Rahman, the one who is all merciful. وَصَدَقَ الْمُرْسَلُونَ. And this was the truth that the messengers spoke. They spoke truthfully. So who is speaking here and who is responding to them? The question is posed and asked by the mushrikeen, those who rejected the message when it was clear to them. And that limited idea of being of their response is then generalized to all of us, because we all take a lesson from that. The speaker here responding is said to be the angels. Firstly, they are responding and saying, this is the promise of a merciful Lord and the truth that the messengers came with. The second opinion is that it is the believers, the mu'minun. Inshallah, it will be us who will respond to the confusion by those who rejected a life to come, and the believers will say to them, this is a promise of Ar-Rahman and the truthfulness of the messengers. The third opinion is that it's not the angels who will respond, it's not the messengers or the believers who will respond, but it's the disbelievers themselves, those who rejected this life to come and rejected Allah. When a group of them will wake up and say, who woke us up from our slumber and our sleep? Others will respond to them saying, this is what we heard the messengers say. This was their truth, that they came to speak of a merciful Lord. And the fourth opinion is that those who ask the question will themselves come to realize the truth of the messengers and the promise of Allah Ta'ala, and they will respond themselves. So there's four different opinions regarding who is responding here. So the terminology we need to get familiar with here. Number one is the Ba'ath. And firstly, it's wajib to believe in the Ba'ath. Yeah, according to our theology, it's wajib to believe in it. Number two, the definition is that the Ba'ath refers to the reviving of the dead, raising them from their graves in their original body parts. Which there's technical arguments here. Every atom, every molecule, everything must be the same, otherwise it's not the same person receiving the thawab, the reward and the punishment. And it is wajib to believe in the na'im of the qabr, the bliss of the qabr, like it is wajib to believe in the adhab, the punishment of the qabr, not just the one. So the idea of the Ba'ath is that we are recreated in our original form. The second term here is the Hashr. Hashr refers to the herding of all creation to a place called the Mawqif, which is a sacred place creation will stop at to be fairly judged by Allah Ta'ala. It's also referred to as the Mahshar, this Mawqif, the stopping place, a Mahshar, a grand field where people are gathered after the resurrection. And everyone meets there, whether they are human, jinn, malaika, everybody. There's just khilaf on the infant who is aborted. Obviously, after consideration, things is done. There's difference of opinion in the madhahib of the fiqh, but if it's before 6 months, before the ruh has been blown in, will this soul be returned? Or is it not considered as part of insan? Because there's a difference of opinion when the ruh is blown in after 6 months and so forth and so on. But that's it's nothing for us to be concerned about. Yeah, if the child is passed on before the parents, then we take on the hadiths where the child will shake the gates of paradise until the parents enter. Then we go to the actual procedure of resurrection here. Who is resurrected first? That's the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who arrives first at this mahshar, this grand field? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And who reaches the gates of paradise first? It's the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is followed by Nuh alayhi salam, as is narrated. Others say no, Sayyidina Abu Bakr follows the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But then they conclude that no, Sayyidina Abu Bakr will follow, yes, but he will follow the prophets. He will be the first, yes, but after the prophets. And then the mahshar itself, the levels of people differ with regards to moving from the qabr to this grand field. Some will be on rides like horses and camels. And this applies to the muttaqeen, those who are more conscious of Allah. So the more conscious you are of Allah, the greater your steed is to ride with it. Some will be walking, and this applies to those who did a few deeds every day. And others will walk on their faces, and this refers to those who rejected Allah Ta'ala. And that's a summary of verse 52 of Surah Yasin.